So what does it take to grow a giant sunflower? What's up everybody, my name is Joshua and we are Bold Follower here to share with you some gardening tips. Sunflowers are one of my favorite things to grow because they look phenomenal, they're easy to grow, and they've got a lot of yield at harvest with all the seeds. And you can eat the whole thing. I don't have a recommendation of which variety is best because it really just depends on a lot of different factors. But for the giant sunflowers we grew this season, we did 6 different varieties, which was Russian Mammoth, Titan, Sunzilla, Mongolian Giant, American Giant, and Con. What you need to do is plant a couple in the ground once the soil is 50 degrees. And once they're a few inches tall, remove all but the biggest ones. Make sure they have plenty of space and good soil. The more space and the better the soil, the bigger the flower. And though they can survive in pretty much anything, I cannot stress how important and crucial it is to have ample space and great soil with good amendments in it, like compost and all that. Once they're planted, you only have to water when the top level is dry. So it depends on your environment, but I do it maybe every other day. And that's it. That's all you really have to do. I told you, sunflowers are easy. But if you want some other tips to help, I've got 7 of those. So let's check them out. Tip number 1, plant them directly in the ground. You can seed start, but you're better off planting directly into the ground because of the incredibly fast, deep moving taproot. Even though these are so small on top, the taproot goes way longer than the pot already. That's nuts. Tip number 2, you might think it's don't underwater, but it's actually don't overwater.
Now, as gardeners, sometimes we love our plants so much that we give them too much of a good thing, and too much of a good thing is often a bad thing. See, oftentimes when we see an issue with the plant, we think, oh, the solution is always to give it more water. When in reality, that's not good. In fact, the roots are like sponges, but they can't stop soaking in water, so it can create fungus infections and a lot of other issues if it has too much water. This is kind of an extreme example of getting too much water because it's been raining like crazy. But if you were to see this plant, you'd probably think it needs more water, when in reality, no. You need to chill out with the water for a couple days and watch it pop right back up.
Tip number 3, stake as needed. The bigger problem you're gonna find is trying to find something that you can stake them with because they grow so tall. Something tall enough, but it doesn't block the sun. You also may have to stake the top of the flower as well, because once it blooms, that flower head will take the whole plant down with it bending over. Tip number 4, research what types of plants like to eat and what infections are common.
You gotta protect your sunflowers, otherwise they're gonna get eaten up like this guy. There are some things you can spray on the leaves to protect them from the bugs, and then as far as the critters, you can either elevate it in an elevated garden bed, or sometimes you can put chicken wire around to protect it.
Tip number 5, accept casualties. This is a learning curve for all of us.
So today is a sad day for this sunflower, this giant sunflower, because we're gonna actually have to cut it down. See, we tried everything we could to make it come back to life. It had some leaves that were doing this, turning black, and even removing some of the leaves, even changing and adjusting the soil and adding extra fertilizer, even spraying the plant with certain medicine. Nothing helped. So we ended up having to get rid of it, because if you don't get rid of these plants that are sickly and have diseases, they could spread to the whole group. So today we're gonna get rid of it.
Tip number 6, prune your sunflower.
Now, some people don't prune their sunflowers at all, and you can do that. Or if you want to prune, some people like to prune the bottom here. Any of the bottom leaves that are kind of smaller or starting to wither, you can get rid of those. Some people actually prune a bunch of the bottom leaves, and they claim that it puts more energy into the flower up there. You can also prune off any suckers if you only want one flower head. That's supposedly the way to make the bigger, rather than have a bunch of different flower heads. So the suckers kind of look like this. It's really anything coming off of where the leaf is coming out. So if the leaf is coming out there shouldn't be 3. So this middle one is a sucker. You can cut that one off if you don't want an extra flower growing.
to which you can replant in the ground. I did have some die on me, but the ones that did grow were kind of mutants with short stalks and really big flower heads. And final tip number 7, have fun and look for some surprises. This one has a mutation if you want to come in close and look at it. See, this is called a fascination. It's when a flower grows 2 flowers in the same spot. As you can tell, it has the regular ring of petals and the regular head, but then you have this, which is what looks to be a second sunflower trying to grow in the middle of the first. These mutations or fascinations are super rare, but they're super cool. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, she says yeah. So at the end of the season, we found out that most of them took just about 90 days or 3 months to grow. But then it was another 2 to 3 weeks until those seeds within the flower head fully matured and was able to be harvested, hence the change of scenery. So our final official measurements of the biggest and largest for this season was the biggest leaf ended up being 18 inches across. And the biggest flower head with petals included was about 15 inches. And the biggest flower head with the seeds fully developed was 16.5 inches across and weighed almost 9 pounds. The thickest stalk was about 2 1/4 inch thick, or 6 1/4 inches around, and the biggest stalk grew to be
12 feet 2.
Of the varieties. The Titan and the Mammoth were overall the biggest, with very identical measurements. So that's our video. We hope that you guys enjoyed it. You can learn a lot about God from gardening. There's a lot of parables, a lot of stories within the Bible that talk about gardening to some effect. So once we understand some of these things, we can understand a little bit more of Jesus's words. Anyway, I hope you guys are blessed. Hope you guys have a great season, and good luck growing your own sunflowers. Let me know how it is down in the comments. Peace.